Ever since I started shooting, I've really only had access to ranges that are 100 yards or within, and typically when I practice it's maybe about 25 yards at most, but recently I've been wanting to get a little more into longer distance shooting, and so at my disposal I have a range which goes up to about 220 yards before I need to qualify to shoot further than that. So I wanted to kind of take you guys along with my journey of getting better at long distance shooting. The gun I'll be using is my M4A1 Block 2 clone, which I showed in a previous video. At that point I had an Aimpoint Comp M4S, which is a red dot, but instead I'm going to be using this ACOG, which I've also shown in another video. That's actually calibrated for the 20-inch barrel, but it's all I have. I know it's perfectly capable, but no worries, it's all good. I know that practice is what I need, and then when eventually I get better, I can upgrade my equipment as necessary, but for now, I'm just gonna rock it. So in this video, I'll take you guys along, just showing my groups at 100 yards. I did want to shoot at the 200-yard line, but that was taken, and there's only one at my range, so gotta make do with what you have, still have to practice no matter what. And so I'll just be using a regular 5.56 55 grain PPU ammo and just kind of showing you my groupings for that. So I'll roll in the footage from my range session from this past weekend, and then I'll leave my commentary more from the end of some things that I picked up and some things I know I need to work on next time. So watch and enjoy. So as you saw, I took quite a bit of time in between some of these shots, even for such a relatively close distance, but it's mostly because I wanted to really be conscious of having a really good trigger squeeze and having the proper technique. And so while I do feel like I have a good sense of when the trigger is going to break, I do have an issue sometimes of pulling the trigger straight backwards, as opposed to having too much of my finger on the trigger and therefore pulling the rifle sideways, even if it's just a little bit. That's something I have noticed. The second thing I was trying to work on was my breathing as well. And so I know I need to exhale more in between my shots, or before I take my shots, I should say, but I noticed that I was still holding my breath when I was supposed to be breathing. I think I was becoming a little flustered when my shots I could see weren't hitting exactly where I wanted to, and I think I was just becoming a little trigger happy, enjoying myself, wanting to just kind of shoot faster. Instead of taking the time to line up the perfect shot, I was kind of skipping some steps and tried to cut out breathing by just holding my breath, which I know isn't proper. So it's another thing I need to work on as well. Another thing I noticed is that I felt overall like I was lining up my sights, the reticle correctly. And while my groups were fairly consistent, they weren't as tight as I had hoped. I'm gonna just say that's because I'm a beginner at these kinds of distances, but it's something I'm definitely hoping to kind of firm up more. In order to shoot further out than 200 yards at this range, I need to have 2-inch groups at 200 yards, which I know is very achievable for the ACOG. And I also need to be able to practice my windage and my holds. That is something I have no experience with, and the reticle doesn't have any kind of windage. I know it's not necessary, but I think it would be helpful for someone of my level. So we'll see how it goes and we'll keep practicing. So for now, just a short and sweet video. Next time I'll go back to the range, I hope to shoot paper at 200 yards so I can really look at my groups. Steel is a lot of fun, very satisfying, but I know paper is what helps me track my targets. And I'll work on those camera angles too. I know it was a little hard to see some of the targets, and so we'll make it work. But thanks for tuning in, and I will see you guys in the next one.